MyNationOnline.com, it's your girl Ashley here with another video blog. There's just a few states left with primaries, and with the Democratic race so close, each delegate needs to count. However, Florida and Michigan's delegates won't count. That's because those two states moved up their primaries against party rules. Now, the Republican punished the parties by only counting half of their delegates, but the Democrats, they took all their delegates away. And originally, while the Clinton and Obama campaign both agreed not to campaign in those states and agreed that those delegates would not count, with the race being so close, let's see if both campaigns are sticking to their agreement.
I have asked my delegates, consistent with their conscience and their beliefs, to vote to seat the delegates from Michigan and Florida. I am not violating the DNC pledge that I agreed to, but I think it's important that we send a message to the people of Florida and Michigan.
So from the sounds of it, Clinton wants both Florida and Michigan's delegates to be counted and split the way people voted originally. Now, that argument may be easier to be made in Florida than in Michigan, because Michigan, neither Obama or John Edwards, who still was in the race at the time, names were on the ballot. However, in Florida, all three names were on the ballot. But in Florida, there's a strange situation because the Republican voter turnout was higher than the Democrats, which hasn't been the case for any primary held in any state this year to date. But let's see what the Obama campaign has to say about this situation.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to abide by the agreement that all the candidates, including Senator Clinton, made when we were out campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire, which was that we would not campaign and we would abide by the Democratic National Committee rules when it came to the seating of Florida and Michigan delegates. Obviously, both are extraordinarily important states that are very important to the Democrats winning in November. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to the pledge that I made.
Well, since Obama wasn't on the ballot in Michigan and he lost both of those states, it makes sense that he doesn't want those delegates to be split the way the people voted originally. But what will happen? You see, in Florida, there's a Republican governor, and he was the one who eventually signed off the bill. In fact, Republican State Senate is led by the Republicans. And how ironic that the Republicans could eventually decide how the Democratic primary will be held in Florida. Let's see what the governor has to say.
The delegates that have already been selected, we already held a vote. I agree with the Speaker. The taxpayers of Florida paid for a vote. The people of Florida turned out in a record number for that vote. It's the logical, common sense thing to do, in my humble opinion, to go ahead and seat the delegates. And that's why I think you see a consensus forming around that, saving taxpayer dollars, recognizing that the people took the time and the energy to get out and vote. It's a precious right that we here in Florida take very seriously, and I think it's right and just to recognize what Florida voters have already done by turning out in record numbers, recognize that vote, seat those delegates. We save money. It recognizes the vote that was already taken, and it's the right thing to do.
So the governor agrees. Taxpayers in his state are not going to be held responsible for holding another primary. But who will? The chairman, Howard Dean, of the Democratic National Committee, says he doesn't think that the committee should also be held responsible for funding this. Will there be a do-over? Let's see what Chairman Dean has to say about this.
Follow the rules. This is a close, very close race with two great candidates. They both can't win. It's very important for us to, we will beat John McCain if we're united. And in order to be united, the loser in the race has to feel that they've been treated fairly within the rules. That's how you keep the party united. So that's the number one thing. We will follow the rules. Both parties, both Michigan and Florida, have an opportunity to either have some sort of a process that it was within the rules or simply appeal to the Credentials Committee, but we are going to follow the rules that were voted on by all 50 states a year and a half ago. The two things I think that are established are the state isn't going to pay for it because their governor, who's a McCain supporter, has said they won't pay for it, and the Democratic National Committee is not going to pay for it because right now our job is to tell the American people about Senator McCain's record on Iraq and the deficits and so forth, and convince the American people that our nominee is better than Senator McCain.
Everybody has their own take on the situation. The Clinton campaign says, let them count the way they are. The Obama campaign says, no, 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 that's not fair. The governor of Florida says, My taxpayers aren't going to be the ones paying for this. And the chairman of the Democratic Party says, well, neither are we. Since politics in our country have been so up and down over the last 20 years, it's hard to tell which state will be the deciding factor in the White House. But we want to know what you think about this situation. Do you think Florida and Michigan's Democratic Party should have redos? Do you think the delegates should be counted the way they are? Or do you think that the delegates should be stripped because they broke the rules? Log on to www.mynationonline.com. Let us know what you think the country should do about the Democratic National Party's situation in Florida and Michigan. Tell us what it would be like in your nation.